In this video, we're going to talk about math in Python, and first we will discuss some built-in math functions, and at the end of the video, we're going to use a math module and some functions of this module. If you want to learn Python and other programming languages, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and if you enjoyed this video, please like it. It will be a great support. Let's begin. Well, Python has a number of built-in math functions that allow you to perform mathematical tasks and operation on numbers. First, I'm going to talk about two functions, min and max, that you can use in order to define the actually maximum and minimum of a couple of numbers. Okay, for example, in here, let's define a variable like x, and I'm gonna find the minimum of actually a couple of numbers and return that minimum to x and then print x as the output. Okay, so let's use min. This is actually the function that returns a minimum of actually a couple of numbers. So let's define some numbers, for example 7, 20, 0, minus 5 and 100. Okay, now there are 5 numbers in here, and if I print the result, which is x here, okay, if I run it, you see -1 is printed because -1 is the minimum number among these 5 numbers. Okay, similar to this one, you can use a max function in order to actually determine the maximum number among a couple of numbers. Okay, in here I'm going to use, for example, y, and max, for example, let's define some numbers, 30, and for example 3, 50, 0, and for example -8. Okay, and if I print, instead of x here, print y, you see 50 is printed because 50 is the maximum number among these 5 numbers. You can use actually more numbers here, as many as you want, and use max function in order to determine the maximum, and use min function in order to determine the minimum among numbers. The next function that I want to use is abs. This function returns the absolute, in other words positive value of a specified number. For example, if I use here abs underline, this is my variable, and I'm going to use abs function here, and I'm going to pass, for example, -5. Okay, and if I print abs here, abs underline, the name of our variable, I expect that 5 is printing. Okay, so 5 is printed because, as I said, it actually returns, this function returns the absolute, the positive value of actually this number. Okay, the next function that I'm going to talk about is pow. Okay, this is the function, and it actually gets two arguments, x and y, for example, and it will return the value of x to the power of y. Okay, be careful about the order of these variables, these actually arguments. It actually returns the value of x to the power of y. Okay, and let's, for example, here see an example like result equal to pow, and let's use 10 and here use 2. Okay, if I run it, oh, I forgot to print the output. Okay, I'm gonna print results. Okay, and you see 100 is here. The meaning of this function is that it is actually multiplying 10 by 10. Okay, and if I, for example, change it to 3, it means that I'm gonna multiply 10 by 10 again by 10. Okay, 3 times. Okay, so in here 3 is actually defining the number of multiplication. Okay, the number of multiplication of the first argument. Okay, this is the meaning of these two arguments. Now let's talk about a math module. First, what is module? Module is actually like something like a library that we use, and there are some functions inside that library, and we want to use those functions. And we will talk about modules later, how to create module and how to use modules. But for this here, I'm going to use a math module, and in order to use that module, we use a keyword like import Okay, this is the keyword, and use actually the name of the module. Okay, and if I run it, now the module is imported. Okay, now you are allowed to actually use the methods, the functions that are actually inside this module. Okay, I'm gonna use some of them, and I'm gonna make you familiar with some of the functions. And the first function is Sqrt, which actually returns the square root of a number. Okay, for example, in here I'm gonna use result as a variable equals to math.sqrt. Okay, and in here I'm gonna pass a number like 16, and we know that the square root of 16 will be 4. Okay, so let's print the result here. Okay, if I run it, you see 4 is printed. Okay, we can try, for example, 25, and 5 is printed. Sometimes you want to round a number upwards or downwards, okay, to the nearest integer. You can use math.ceil or math.floor. Okay, these two methods, floor and ceil. If you want to actually round a number upwards to its nearest integer, you use ceil. Or if you want to round a number downward to its nearest integer, you use floor. Okay, let's use both of them in here. For example, I say results underline upward. Okay, and I'm going to use math.ceil. Okay, and let's use, for example, 4.2. Okay, and I'm going to use a result underline downward. These are just names, you can change them, they're just variable. And math.floor. Okay, and again I'm gonna pass 4.2. Okay, let's print both of them. First, print result underline upward, and then let's print result underline downward. Okay, and if I run it, you see the first one is printing 5, the next one is 4. Well, as I told you, ceil will round the number to upward to its nearest integer. Okay, and the next integer is 5 here, and the second one rounds downward to its nearest integer, which is 4. There are other functions such as sine, cosine, tangent, and other mathematical functions that you can use, but here I'm gonna just show you some of them. If you are actually interested in them, you can search about them and use those functions. For example, in here let's use sine function. Result equals to math.sine, and we know that the sine of, for example, 0 will be 0. So let me print to see the output result here, and you see 0 is printed. We can also use cosine here. So let's see the output. So as you know, cosine of 0 is 1. And you can use tangent or other functions. This module also contains some math constants such as Euler number or pi number. And I'm gonna show you, for example, here. Let's print math.e. This is the Euler number, and you can also use math.pi to see actually pi number. Here is the end of this session. Now I think you know some built-in math functions and also how to work with math module. If you want to learn more about Python and other programming languages, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you enjoyed this video, please like it. It will be a great support. If you have any question, leave comment. I reach you as soon as possible. Bye for now.